Welcome, everyone. Oh, this is so exciting that I get to be here with two of my priestess sisters that are in the same lineage as my priestess lineage. Kathy Forrest, who we've met in person, and Sarah Estelle, who's across the pond, so we haven't met in person. But we've been doing the Wise Women Roundtables for a long time, and and Sarah and Kathy both lead the priestess circles. So one of the things we could do is if you're leading any priestess circles, send me the link and I'll make sure it's in the show notes so that people, if anyone's interested in doing this process, it was absolutely life-changing for me. I did it in 1995, and I am always astounded at how it's still such a big part of my life, and how things keep continuing to evolve and grow as a result of having done this work. I know you both can relate to that. And so, and I don't lead priestess circles, but I do help lead priestess circles. Because that's like, I don't want to do it myself. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Anyway, so there's that. And then the other thing, just going to mention quickly, and Kathy can mention more about this, is that she's doing a summit, Sophia Unleashed. Is that the title of it? And it was so funny because one of the reasons we had wanted Kathy to come be a part of our Wise Women Roundtable for a while, and she sent this email about how she's doing this thing on Sophia Unleashed, and we had just done a Wise Women Roundtable on how Saturn is Sophia. I said the universe just has to confirm that we're on the right track with this. So magical and amazing. So just celebrating that. And I'm sure we can talk about more about that later. Anyway, but what I thought I'd share today is, of course, Uranus just went into Gemini for the first time in since like 1941. So it's been 80 some 84 years, something like that before since it entered Gemini. I mean, it's in Gemini for 7 years, so it's going to be a long time that it's in Gemini. And what's interesting is that the Uranian energy is all about freedom, and it's all about expanding consciousness, and it's all about um, the unexpected that takes us in new directions, that helps us to grow and evolve. And the Gemini energy is all about expanding the mind. And one of the challenges that Gemini can have is that it needs to realize the mind can't know it all, but it wants to. Like, can't I know all of it? Nope, can't know it all. And that's okay. And so I think the thing that's been coming for me is that this movement of Uranus into Gemini it's also high trickster energy, because Gemini also reminds us not to take ourselves too seriously, that we can have fun and play with things, and that if we are taking it too seriously, something's going to happen that might disrupt all of that, so that maybe we get to laugh at ourselves. And we can go, oh, maybe I don't need to be so serious about this. And so this is being amplified by the fact that Uranus is now in Gemini. So that trickster energy, the also the idea of freedom from the known. Krishnamurti wrote a book called Freedom from the Known. It's excellent. It just talks a lot about how we get trapped into our thinking certain ways. Like, this is how it is. This is how society is. This is how I need to be to show up in society, which limits us and keeps us from being free to be who we really are. And there's a fear that if we aren't doing what we're supposed to be doing, then we won't have a place. And also, there's a fear that if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, we won't get to be who we really are. So it's an interesting conundrum to deal with. And so freedom from the known, and also free to be willing to embrace the unknown. And the one of the things about these mysteries that I have thought for many, many years, there's a Jefferson Airplane song that said, "I said to the wind as it took me away, that's where I wanted to go today." Meaning we're just free to be going wherever life is taking us, and that when we get wherever we're going, which we maybe don't know what it is or where it's taking us, I would have never known I would wind up where I am today years ago. It was just not even anything on in my sense of knowing or being or whatever. It's just so much better than what I could have imagined. So being willing to embrace that unknown and to let ourselves be free from thinking we know what we know and letting go of that and being open to that. So I feel like the next 7 years is going to be opportunities to continue to practice that because of course we're going to go back into what we know. Of course we're going to have those times where it's like we can feel stuck or we can feel like we're not going in the right direction. But if we just allow ourselves to trust the process, to trust the universe, to trust where it's taking us. And honestly, when we look at what's going on in the world stage, it's like it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. Like, how are we here after how are we in such a place of such division and such challenges and such meanness? It's just meanness. And it's like, how can that possibly be? And if we get caught up in that, then we are, that's what's our known reality right now, but we're not open to what's unknown and what's unfolding. And so that's very exciting. Possibilities that are, and really the Uranian energy is all about revolution for evolution. So a revolution of the mind, a revolution of our knowing, a revolution of how we think and how we perceive and how we communicate and how we creatively express all the things that are associated with that is what's happening. And that's the gift that Uranus is bringing us being in Gemini for the next 7 years. Of course, it will dip back into Taurus for a short time and then it'll go back into back into Gemini and be there for about 7 years. So there's that. That's like I feel like the biggest theme of the moment, but also one more thing to share, and that is how we have five planets. Well, one of them is a dwarf planet, and one of them's not even is maybe a dwarf planet. They don't even know how to categorize Chiron. It's like sometimes they say it's a comet, it's an asteroid, it's a dwarf planet. It's they I don't know, but anyway. So two of them aren't really planets, but Neptune went retrograde on July 4th. We've got Saturn going retrograde on July 12th. We've got Mercury going retrograde on July 17th. Eris, the dwarf planet, the demoted Pluto from being a planet to a dwarf planet, the goddess of chaos, she's going retrograde on July 22nd, which happens to be the Magdalene feast day, something that the three of us are very aware of because that's been part of our priestess work. And then on the 30th of July, Chiron goes retrograde. And so why this is so remarkable is that it feels like we've been amping up toward and we've been moving toward and have actually experiencing some massive changes, collective consciousness changes. And it's just been like this full speed ahead kind of time. But now it's like we're getting into the sacred pause because every time a planet goes retrograde or direct, it's in its pause from Earth's perspective. So, of course, the planets never slow down and they never go backwards and they never reverse directions. They don't do that. But we see that and that's what we experience and that's what we feel viscerally in our body and in our being. So we have all these planets pausing and of course, part of the thing with Saturn and Neptune is they're crossing that zero Aries point 3 times. They've crossed once, they'll retrograde back over it again, and then they'll go direct back over it again and come together for the first time in thousands of years at the zero Aries point in February of 2026. This is what we're building towards. And the zero Aries point being the alpha point, being the beginning of everything. So we're really winding up and wrapping up things in preparation for a new beginning that we don't even know what it is because freedom from the known, we don't need to know. And nor should we even try to be figuring it out necessarily. But for me, I guess the last thing I'll say is that the way we can figure it out, if we must have a way to figure it out, is just to come from love. If we come from love, then whatever comes will be the best possible thing that could come for us, and that we'll be moving into that as an experience. So with that, I'm going to hand this off to Kathy, my priestess sister of many decades,
Right.
who I love and adore, and I'm so happy to be a part of your summit coming up, so you can talk about that too.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaylin. So I purposefully went after Kaylin because I wanted her to emphasize, which she did so beautifully, what a powerful and potent time we're in. I remember it's been a few months ago, and it was right at the beginning of when things were getting really dicey in the United States. And now I think we've apexed the diciness, and there's still more dicey to come. But the circle I was in, it was a look. I mean, even though what we were celebrating and what we were doing was very, very potent, you could feel everyone was way down in the basement. And when it was my turn to speak, all I could think of was, you all, we made it. We landed right at the moment that we wanted to be here. Even though it looks crazy and chaotic out there, we did it. It's like we're here. And this is the moment that we've all been waiting for. So, and I'm just like Kaylin said, we're priestesses together, the three of us, and we've done that for years. But I feel, and that one of the premises of our lineage is that you don't have to go through ritual; you just have to claim it. We self-proclaim. There's nobody that makes us a priestess. We say that we are that, and I feel like all of us are being called to really step up and priestess the planet and do the real priestess work we came here to do, that is beyond ritual, and yet it includes it. It's, being there for the people that are hurting right now. Finding ways, and that's the beauty of Uranus and Gemini. We can be creative, like to the max, like on steroids. We can get all kinds of creative ideas and creative energy to be the change, to shift things. One of the big emphases, if that's a word, around Uranus is that he brings in a lot of technology, a lot of technological discoveries, and all of those things. And some of us could get a little scratchy about that because we've seen the negative aspects of that. But what I want everyone to understand is that there's more than one kind of technology. And this is off the charts ideas and freedom right now. And there are spiritual technologies that are coming online. There are body technologies that we've never experienced before. And those two pieces are coming together inside of our bodies right now. So if many of us are experiencing crazy symptoms, headaches, feeling stuck, not our sleep patterns are off the charts. I tell everyone nighttime is an adventure at my house. I may start out in the bed and end up on this couch and then on that couch. And I might not get my good sleep until the middle of the day the next day. All of that is it's like everything that Kaylin was telling us about. Yeah, it's happening out there, but it's happening in here, inside of our bodies. We have inner technology that is waking up and coming online. And if we aren't aware of it, we might think we're crazy. We might feel out of sync. So I just want to tell everyone to be aware. And when your body is trying to digest and take in, because Uranus and Gemini love to go fast, and we're still in our little Taurus bodies. Be gentle with yourself. Give yourself extra loving care, extra, all of the things that we know to do that are self-care, do those and then some, more rest, more dreaming, more imagining. I love what Kaylin said about the pause, the sacred pause, because I'm not sure when this airs, but um, right now, I believe this is the ninth, we're in it. I mean, we're leading up to the full moon in Capricorn tomorrow. And all four of those big planets have shifted signs. So this is the moment. This is the moment we've been preparing for. And I feel like we've said this for 20 years, but it is. We're right at the edge. So be gentle with yourself. When Kaylin said go to love, if you don't know how to do that, there is a reason behind the title of my summit this time. The rest of the title, it's Sophia Unleashed, un, the return of holy wisdom. There's only one place to find that holy wisdom, and that is in your heart. That's the way. Giving yourself time to drop in to that heart space. I mean, there's lots of quote unquote science out there that, they'll discover things and they won't really know what it is, but they'll discover it. Your soul, the part of you that remembers who you are lifetimes ago, knows where you're going. There's a drop of that lives inside of you and powers your body. And you can find it by dropping in to that heart space. So do that for yourself. Let yourself connect with that holy Sophia within you. That wisdom is never going to change. You've probably been ignoring it for a while. So it might be time to take some of this time, this in the sacred pause time of July, to listen and let your own guidance begin to surface. If you're feeling stuck, remember that you're not stuck. This is just the pressure building before we launch, before the ignition. So rather than feel like you have to hurry, you have to rush around, breathe, ground, and drop into your heart and let your heart lead you. And on that thought, I am going to turn this over to my dear sweet sister, Sarah Estelle. And she's going to give us some other little tidbits of wisdom, as well as some remedies that we can use to support ourselves. So,
Mm,
Miss Sarah.
thank you, Kathy. Thank you
Mhm,
so much. Honored to be here with you both.
mhm,
Yeah, so what was really asking to be shared through me and nature. If people haven't met me before, I work deeply with nature, the flowers and the trees and the crystals as well, sometimes. Um, is that as we are becoming, all of us becoming asked, especially those people that the kinds of women or men that watch these types of interviews, we're all on our spiritual paths and we're all really striving to be the best version of ourselves. And it's something we know, isn't it? It's like the best version of ourselves. But when you really think about what that means, there is a version of each of us that was predestined. And when we do the work, and even when we don't, we just become more and more of this beautiful, fine-tuned version of ourselves. So, one of the things that happens when we become more and more of ourselves is, and this is fairly well known, but I think it's amplified at the moment, is that the people around us who knew the old version of ourselves, they don't like it when we suddenly start being different and saying no instead of yes, or whatever the version might be. None of us like to go out of our comfort zones, and I understand it completely. So, at this time of great magic, and it is a time, as you both have shared, of huge magic,
there will need to be for us to become this best version of our own magic a kind of separation. It's going to have to happen. And it also speaks into Inanna's journey. She needs to go down and let go of everything before she can come up. And I think we are almost um, at that place, many of us now, where we have gone down and we have a choice now. But we the choice we've made is that I'm coming back up, whether you like it or not, and this is the version of me that's coming back up. Not that we're saying those words, but it's kind of the pulse behind it. So, in my own life, what I've noticed since I've become more aware over the years, and that began by using flower and vibrational essences, helped me enormously. And then I moved into the priestess path. Kathy was my teacher or facilitator. Thank you so much for that, Kathy. And I got to know myself really clearly. That's one of, for me, it was the gift of the priestess process, just to like really know who I am. And so I have this pattern that goes through my life where, especially since I've become more empowered, where there's a lot of separation, there's a lot of things start and then they stop, and then they start and they stop. And yes, there's a constant beneath it, but there's a lot of triggery I don't like you anymore, or you don't like me anymore, or whatever. And there's not really those words, but it's the energetics that's come off to it. And sometimes it's been me that's come at it, and other times it's been the other way around. But I saw it, and I used to think to myself, what? And then I started to realize that I have a North Node in Scorpio in the first house, which is always edging me to be more and more and more and more like a big shredding machine. It's just like, you're going to be more and more and more and more of who you are. So I share this not to kind of speak about myself, I just use it as an example. I was actually running a high priestess meeting this morning, and two of us in the meeting had the same download and that we'd had the same sort of experience. I mean, they were very different, was that when that thing that we experience, I just gave an example of mine, yours might look very different. We've all got things that happen and they're vibrationally, they're similar. And we think, why is it happening again? I thought I'd done that, but I thought I'd got that past that qualification. But we both got this morning separately, and then were able to share that actually it was a teacher, and this experience had been let through again, not to make us bad and think we'd done something wrong, but it was actually there to kind of sharpen that pencil just the next round. And both of us were like, oh, that feels better. So if anybody else is experiencing that kind of feeling of that you're going through a shredder again, then it might help you to think that it's not a punishment. You haven't, you haven't failed, but maybe it's just this next round of the initiation, and maybe the universe or whatever we want to call it, God, the goddess, the nature kingdom, the angels, the ascended masters, are just really just like creating this beautiful space around us so that we can see ourselves more clearly. And in that mirror, we can see the other more clearly as well. And then, as you both have said, we can just bring those two pieces together and just go, I bow deeply to this other part of me and this other part of you, and know that both parts of ourselves and therefore and others are in service right now. And they're both needed. And as priestesses, we know that the work, as you were saying, Kathy, happens here. So it's just another reminder just to go deeper inside ourselves. So I think there's a lot of kind of light workers, priestesses, creatives, whatever we want to call ourselves, who are feeling this kind of rub. So I kind of tuned in today as to the flowers that may wish to come forward. So the roses are always superbly helpful at this time because they hold the feminine heart. They're deeply rooted, very deeply rooted. So you don't mess with a rose, as we know. their color and their fragrance kind of really connect us back to the mother energy. White roses, to me, it's how they speak to me, speak of the purity and the sovereignty.
Mhm.
So really just keep coming back to our own sovereignty, which may, and the clearer we get on our sovereignty, again, it might make us different from somebody else. And that's kind of the reason, is the purpose. And somebody like me with the moon and Cancer goes, oh no, that makes me different. Therefore, it's going to cause upset in some way because I've got to do something different from everybody else. So these roses are huge friends to me, and I think they can be to many of us, and all roses can help. White ones, I think, just speak of the purity. In terms of the crystal, this was the best kind of picture I could find, but this is a ruby. Rubies, again, are, the red is the root chakra or, like real vibrant life force energy. Crystals speak more into embodiment than flowers. Flowers are more about consciousness raising. So, rubies are very, really, I always think of it as a bit like taking a shot of ginseng, like a real good life-giving herb. If you feel a bit anemic, and I don't mean physically anemic, but when we're a bit like, I didn't sleep well, or oh, my legs are a bit wobbly, Ruby can kind of root us in and help us feel stronger, make the heart feel stronger. She is quite a strong teacher, so if you work with Ruby, and if you're sensitive, like many of us are, just sometimes just one drop is enough. And then finally, which is, I think I might have spoken about this before, and um, this is trying to be an iris. Gosh, I'm trying to put it in the middle of the camera. And this really spoke into how she's been speaking to me. In fact, she's been in my life for many years. My mum, one of her favorite flowers was iris. When I moved to France 10 years ago, I got a temporary tattoo done. It was iris. I had zero idea why irises kept appearing. Then they started growing here. I mean, obviously they've been planted, but and I was like, wow. And in the last year or so, I've got really connected to them. Now, the message of the iris is very clear. She doesn't mess around. And she says, so you've discovered this pattern? You want to do this thing? So do it. Do it. Or don't. And it is a little bit what you were saying, Kathy. It's like we came here for a reason. So why are we not doing the thing?
Yeah.
Why are we, and I've got all the excuses on the planet, and I regularly fall into the holes. So this is no judgment, but she's been such a teacher to me. I think you're too old, you're too young, you're too this, you're too that. And it's like, how often are we going to keep telling ourselves these stories? And Iris will say to us, just do it. Do it. She doesn't even say just, she just says, do it. Put your feet on the ground, get up and walk. Say it, do it, be it. And so she is quite, yeah, all the flowers I've shared there are really loving teachers to just give us the courage to step more into the essence that was given to us at the beginning of our lives that can never be changed. If we think with all the Aquarian, Uranus energy, we're walking into a world of frequency. The one thing that can never be taken away from us, or one of the things, is our frequency. Nobody can ever, ever take that away. So it's precious to tune in and to allow the nature kingdom to just hold us into that frequency, be rooted. And so, yeah, I hope that message has been helpful for some of you listening.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I love everything that's been shared. Just a quick reminder, be sure to check out the show notes. If you are interested in the priestess process, highly recommend it. I'll have a link from both Kathy and Sarah, who lead online priestess processes. Uh, I don't know. Are you doing in person anymore?
I'm not.
You're not. Okay. So they do it online, so it doesn't matter where you are.
Right?
And then also for the summit that Kathy's hosting, what are the dates on that?
It doesn't start until August 11th,
Ah,
but
okay, that Jupiter
adver
and Venus are conjunct with Sirius. How perfect is that?
right. So I guess we know what your topic is. Um, but
Yes.
but um, advertising will start going out 2 weeks before. So if you want to get information, Caitlin can just put my website up there. You can sign up to get on the list and you'll get an email.
Good. Yes, I highly recommend the summits that you do, Kathy, are just so good. Sarah's going to be a part of it also. So are you talking about flower essences, Sarah? You don't
Probably. Probably.
know.
I actually don't
Probably.
know.
It's a
Yeah,
good
I'm
plan.
one of these. I need to be like this much away from it to even know, which may be very infuriating on some levels. But I expect the flowers will come through. Yes.
Okay, for sure.
I imagine that too. And literally, Kathy and I were talking about this earlier too, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "I don't know. Freedom from the known. We don't know."
We don't know,
But definitely going
but
to,
you'll want to be there.
yeah, I definitely, since it's starting on August 11th, I will definitely be talking about the Jupiter Venus Sirius conjunction that is just off the charts, amazing. Hasn't happened in, I don't know how long since they've come together in such a precise way. I know it hasn't been in the last probably 50 years, and I don't think it'll happen again for the next maybe 50-ish years or so. It's like this is a moment. This is definitely a powerful moment. So we'll talk about that. Anyway, so check out the show notes. Hope this has been helpful and inspiring, and we'll be back. And see you. See you. Bye.
Everybody.